You want $200 million? Fix this. Victoria Sterling's voice sliced through the war room like a blade. She pointed at Marcus Chen, the janitor gripping his mop wearing a uniform stained with bleach. The engineers erupted in laughter. Cruel, mocking, crushing. But behind him stood a 9-year-old girl clutching a tablet, and on that tablet was the answer that would bring an empire to its knees. 1 minute later, the $200 million system roared back to life. The laughter died. The room went cold. A child had just humiliated every genius in that building. Subscribe now and follow this story to the very end. Comment your city below. Let me see how far this story travels across the world. Marcus Chen pressed his forehead against the cold bathroom tile and let the tears fall. 47 floors below the city of Chicago sparkled like a promise he could no longer keep. But up here in the executive restroom he was paid to scrub Marcus was invisible. Just another janitor, just another failure. He wiped his face with his sleeve and stared at his reflection in the mirror he had just polished. 36 years old, hollowed cheeks. Eyes that used to burn with ambition now dulled by 3 years of humiliation. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from Mia. Dad, I made spaghetti. Don't work too late. Love you. Marcus smiled for the first time that day. His daughter, his 9-year-old miracle, the only reason he still woke up every morning. He typed back, "Save me some genius, home by 10. He shoved the phone away and grabbed his mop. The door swung open behind him. Chen, what are you doing standing around? Marcus turned slowly. Raymond Holt stood in the doorway, Chief Technology Officer of Nexus Dynamics. 52 years old, silver hair perfectly styled, a suit that cost more than Marcus made in 3 months. And the man who had destroyed his life. Just finishing up, Dr. Holt, Marcus said quietly. Raymond's lip curled. Then finish faster. The CEO's presentation is in 2 hours. I want this floor spotless, not that you'd understand what's at stake. Marcus gripped the mop handle until his knuckles went white. 3 years ago, he would have responded. 3 years ago, he was Raymond's equal lead AI architect designer of the neural navigation system that powered Project Phoenix. But that was before Lily got sick, before the diagnosis, before he watched his wife die in a hospital bed while his career crumbled around him. I understand, Dr. Holt, Marcus said flatly. Raymond smirked. Good. Know your place, Chen. He walked out without another word. Marcus stood frozen for a long moment. His hands were shaking. Not from anger, he had burned through his anger years ago. Now there was only exhaustion and memory. 3 years earlier, Marcus Chen had been untouchable. At 33, he was the youngest lead architect in Nexus Dynamics history. His neural navigation system was revolutionary, an AI that could learn flight patterns, adapt to weather changes, and coordinate drone swarms with perfect precision. The military wanted it, the government wanted it, everyone wanted Project Phoenix. And Marcus had built it from nothing. But then Lily started forgetting things. Small things at first, where she put her keys, what day it was, their daughter's piano recital, then bigger things, their anniversary, their address, Marcus's name, early onset Alzheimer's, aggressive, terminal. How long? Marcus had asked the doctor, his voice cracking. 2 years, maybe less. Marcus had walked out of that hospital and driven straight to Raymond Holt's office. I need to work from home, he said. 3 days a week. Just until... Absolutely not. Raymond didn't even look up from his computer. Phoenix launches in 18 months. I need you here. My wife is dying. And Project Phoenix is worth $200 million, which matters more to this company. Marcus stared at him. She's the mother of my child. Raymond finally looked up. His eyes were cold, empty, the eyes of a man who had traded his humanity for a corner office. Then hire a nurse. That's what money is for. Marcus should have walked away right then. Should have quit. Should have taken Lily and Mia somewhere far from this glass tower and its poisonous people. But he didn't. Because he needed the health insurance. Because Lily's treatment cost more than their savings. Because Mia was only 6 years old and she needed stability. So Marcus stayed. He worked 18-hour days. He drove home at midnight to hold Lily's hand while she slept. He woke at dawn to make Mia's breakfast before dragging himself back to the office, and his work suffered. Not the quality, never the quality. Marcus could code in his sleep, but his reports were late, his meetings were missed, his emails went unanswered. Raymond documented everything, every missed deadline, every unanswered call, every moment Marcus chose his dying wife over the company's quarterly targets. And when Lily finally passed peacefully in Marcus's arms with Mia holding her mother's cold hand, Raymond was waiting. "I'm sorry for your loss," Raymond said at the funeral. His voice was rehearsed, professional, empty. 3 days later, the termination letter arrived. Performance-based separation, effective immediately, no severance, no recommendation. Marcus had stood in Raymond's office, the letter crumpling in his fist. "I built Phoenix. I designed the entire navigation system. You can't do this." Raymond leaned back in his chair. "I just did. The board will hear about this. The board approved it. Unanimous vote." Raymond smiled, a thin, cruel smile. "You've been slipping for months, Marcus. Everyone saw it. Nobody wants to work with a man who can't prioritize. My wife just died, and that's tragic. But this is business." Raymond pressed a button on his desk. "Security will escort you out." 2 guards appeared at the door. Marcus looked at Raymond one last time. "You'll regret this." "I doubt that very much." They blacklisted him. Marcus applied to every tech company in Chicago, then every tech company in Illinois, then every tech company in the Midwest. Nobody would hire him. "We've reviewed your file." The recruiters would say, their voices carefully neutral. "We've decided to pursue other candidates." The file, Raymond's file, a detailed record of Marcus's failures, every missed meeting, every late report, every moment he had chosen his family over his work. Nobody mentioned Lily. Nobody mentioned the cancer. Nobody mentioned that Marcus had been caring for a dying woman while building a $200 million system. The only thing that mattered was the file. After 8 months of rejection, Marcus stopped applying for engineering jobs. He sold their house. Moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the south side. Used the remaining savings to keep Mia in her school, the one good school in their district, the one Lily had fought so hard to get her into. And when the money ran out, Marcus did the only thing he could. He went back to Nexus Dynamics, not as an engineer, not as a designer, not even as a consultant, as a janitor. The hiring manager hadn't recognized him. Why would she? He had lost 30 pounds. His hair was streaked with gray. His eyes were dead. "You're overqualified," she said, scanning his application. He had left out his engineering background, just listed maintenance experience and facilities management. "I just need the work," Marcus said quietly. She shrugged. "Night shift, minimum wage, benefits after 90 days. I'll take it." The first night was the hardest. Marcus mopped the floor of the AI development lab, the lab he had designed, the lab where his neural navigation code still ran on servers he had configured. He recognized his old desk. Someone else sat there now, a young engineer fresh out of MIT, typing furiously on a keyboard. "Hey!" The engineer snapped his fingers at Marcus. "You missed a spot. Over there." Marcus looked down at the floor. There was no spot. "Sorry," he said anyway. "I'll get it." He mopped the invisible spot while the engineer returned to typing code that was built on Marcus's foundation using systems Marcus had created. That night, Marcus went home and sat on Mia's bed while she slept. She was 7 years old. She looked so much like Lily, the same gentle smile, the same curious eyes, the same stubborn chin. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered. "I'm so sorry." Mia stirred but didn't wake. Marcus stayed there until morning. But Mia didn't let him drown. Even at 7, she could see the sadness eating her father alive. She couldn't understand why he mopped floors when she knew he was brilliant. She couldn't understand why they lived in a small apartment when they used to have a house with a backyard. But she understood one thing: her father needed a purpose. So she gave him one. "Dad, teach me to code." Marcus looked up from his dinner instant noodles, the same meal they'd had for a week. "What? You always talk about computers. You told Mom once that code is like magic. Teach me the magic." Marcus stared at his daughter. She was missing a front tooth. Her hair was tangled because he still hadn't learned to braid it properly. Her shoes were held together with duct tape, but her eyes were fierce, determined, alive. For the first time in months, Marcus smiled. "Okay, genius, let's start with something simple." Mia learned fast, faster than Marcus expected, faster than any student he had ever taught. At 8, she could write basic programs. At 9, she could debug systems that college students struggled with. Their old laptop became her laboratory. Every night after homework, after dinner, after Marcus dragged himself home from the night shift, they sat together at the kitchen table. "Why doesn't this loop work, Dad?" Marcus looked at her screen, smiled. "You forgot the exit condition. See, the computer doesn't know when to stop." "Oh, so I need to tell it when to stop asking questions?" "Exactly. Computers are smart, but they're not wise. They'll do exactly what you tell them, nothing more, nothing less." Mia's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Fixed it." The program ran perfectly. Marcus pulled her into a hug. "That's my genius." "Dad." "Yeah. Can I be an engineer like you used to be?" Marcus's throat tightened. "You can be anything you want, sweetheart. Anything at all. Even better than you." He laughed a real laugh, the first in what felt like years. "Especially better than me." 2 years passed. Marcus settled into his invisible life. He mopped floors, he fixed electrical panels, he cleaned toilets that executives used and never acknowledged, and every night he came home to Mia. She was 9 now, still small for her age, still wearing second-hand clothes, still carrying a tablet that Marcus had bought refurbished from a pawn shop. But her mind was extraordinary. She had taught herself 3 programming languages. She had built a simple AI that could recognize her voice. She had won her school's science fair with a program that predicted weather patterns using public data. "You should enter the citywide competition," her teacher said. "She's gifted, Mr. Chen." Marcus smiled tightly. "We'll see." He couldn't afford the entry fee. He couldn't afford the materials. He couldn't afford to take time off work to drive her to the venue. He couldn't afford anything. But he never let Mia see his desperation. He never let her know that some nights after she fell asleep, he sat in the darkness and wondered if he was failing her the way he had failed everything else. The day everything changed started like any other. Marcus woke at 5 a.m., made Mia's breakfast oatmeal with the last of their brown sugar, walked her to the bus stop, watched until the yellow bus disappeared around the corner. Then he took the train to Nexus Dynamics. His shift didn't start until 6 p.m., but his manager had called him in early. "Emergency cleaning. CEO's hosting a big presentation. All hands on deck." Marcus put on his gray uniform, grabbed his mop, rode the elevator to the 47th floor. The war room was chaos. Engineers ran between workstations. Technicians shouted into headsets. cables snaked across the floor like arteries feeding a dying patient. Marcus had seen this kind of panic before 3 years ago, when he was the one everyone called to fix the unfixable. Now, he was just the man with the mop. "Out of the way!" A junior engineer shoved past him. "We've got a critical failure." Marcus pressed himself against the wall and watched. On the massive screen at the front of the room, red warnings flashed. Project Phoenix system failure. Navigation module unresponsive. Marcus's stomach dropped. Phoenix. His Phoenix. The system he had built from nothing. "What's the error?" someone shouted. "Recursive loop in the navigation algorithm. The AI keeps requesting the same data over and over. Then fix it. We can't find the source." Marcus's fingers twitched. He knew that system inside out. He had written the navigation module himself. He could probably diagnose the problem in 5 minutes, but he was invisible now. A janitor, a ghost haunting the halls of his former life. He turned away and started mopping the corner of the room. An hour later, Victoria Sterling arrived. The CEO of Nexus Dynamics swept into the war room like a hurricane in Chanel. 38 years old, blonde hair pulled back tight, eyes like chips of ice. She had taken over the company 2 years ago after the previous CEO retired. Marcus had never met her personally, but he had heard the stories. Brilliant, ruthless, unforgiving. "Someone explain to me," Victoria said, her voice cutting through the chaos, "why my $200 million system is dead." Raymond Holt stepped forward. He was sweating through his expensive suit. "The navigation module crashed during final testing. We're working on a solution." "Working on a solution?" Victoria's voice was flat, dangerous. "Raymond, Senator Morrison arrives in 2 hours. His committee is deciding next week whether to award us the largest defense contract in company history. And you're working on a solution? The bug is deeply embedded. Your engineers have had 6 hours. Victoria turned to the room. "I want this fixed in 1 hour. 1 hour, or every person in this room can start updating their resumes." Silence. Pure, terrified silence. Victoria's eyes swept the room. They passed over the engineers, the technicians, the project managers, and landed on Marcus. He was still mopping in the corner, head down, invisible. Victoria frowned slightly, then looked away. He wasn't worth her attention. "Get to work," she commanded. "All of you." The room exploded into frantic motion. Marcus kept mopping. 30 minutes later, his phone buzzed. A text from Mia. "Dad, I'm outside the building. I brought you lunch. You forgot your sandwich again." Marcus's heart stopped. Outside, she was supposed to be at school. She was supposed to take the bus home. She was supposed to be anywhere but here. He typed back quickly. "Stay in the lobby. Don't move. I'll come get you." But Mia was 9 years old, and 9-year-olds were curious, especially this 9-year-old. Mia had never been inside Nexus Dynamics before. She knew her father worked here. She knew he mopped floors and cleaned bathrooms. She knew he came home every night smelling like bleach and sadness. But she had never seen the building itself. It was beautiful. Glass and steel stretching toward the clouds. Holographic displays in the lobby showing drones and satellites and technologies that looked like magic. Mia's eyes went wide. She clutched the brown paper bag with her father's sandwich and looked around. The lobby was enormous. The ceilings were impossibly high. Everything gleamed. A security guard glanced at her. "Can I help you, little girl? I'm waiting for my dad. He works here." The guard nodded disinterestedly and went back to his phone. Mia waited and waited, but her father didn't come. She looked at her tablet, the old cracked tablet that was her most precious possession. Her father had given it to her for her birthday, apologizing because he couldn't afford a new one. "It's perfect, Dad," she had told him. "It's better because you gave it to me." Now she tapped the screen absently, looking at the code she had been working on that morning. A simple sorting algorithm. Nothing special. But she was bored and curious, and her father was taking forever. She glanced at the hallway behind the security desk. The guard was still looking at his phone. One quick look wouldn't hurt. Right, Mia slipped past the desk and walked down the bright corridor. The glass doors were unlocked. Mia pushed through them quietly, still clutching the brown paper bag and her tablet. She found herself in a massive room filled with screens and computers and people who looked very, very stressed. Nobody noticed her. They were all staring at a giant display on the far wall. Red warnings flashed across it like angry heartbeats. Mia's eyes widened. She knew what code looked like. She had been reading it for 2 years. She could recognize the structure, the syntax, the logic. And she could see immediately that something was wrong. The code on the screen was stuck. It kept running the same function over and over like a hamster on a wheel. It never stopped because nobody had told it when to stop. Mia tilted her head. She had made that mistake once. Her father had taught her how to fix it. "You need an exit condition," he had said. "Every loop needs to know when to stop, otherwise it runs forever." Mia looked at the screen, then at her tablet, then back at the screen. Her fingers itched. She knew she shouldn't. She was 9 years old. She was in a building she wasn't supposed to be in. These were adults, professionals, experts, but they were all panicking. And the answer was right there. She opened her tablet and started typing. But Marcus found her 10 minutes later. He had searched the lobby, the bathrooms, the cafeteria. His panic was rising with every empty room. Then he heard the whispers coming from the war room. "Who is that kid? Someone call security. Wait, what is she doing?" Marcus pushed through the crowd of engineers and stopped cold. Mia was sitting cross-legged on the floor in front of the main terminal. Her tablet was open on her lap. Her small fingers were moving across the screen, recreating the code from the massive display. "Mia!" Marcus rushed forward and knelt beside her. "What are you doing here? I told you to stay in the lobby." "Dad!" Mia looked up at him. Her eyes were bright, focused, certain. "I found the problem." "What?" "The loop. It never stops because there's no return statement. Look." She turned her tablet toward him. "The recursive function keeps calling itself, but it never returns a value. The AI keeps asking the same question forever, because nobody told it when to stop asking." Marcus stared at the screen. His breath caught in his throat. She was right. It was a tiny mistake, one missing line of code in thousands. A single return statement that some engineer had forgotten. But that one mistake had crashed a $200 million system, and his 9-year-old daughter had found it in 10 minutes. "Dad!" Mia's voice was small now, uncertain. "Did I do something wrong?" Before Marcus could answer, a voice cut through the room like a whip. "What is this?" Victoria Sterling was pushing through the crowd, her heels clicking against the floor. Her face was a mask of fury. "Who let a child into my war room?" Raymond Holt was right behind her. His face went pale when he saw Marcus. "Chen, what the hell is going on? Is this your kid?" Marcus stood slowly, positioning himself between Mia and the crowd. "Yes, she's my daughter. I'm sorry she wasn't supposed to—" "Security!" Raymond barked. "Get them both out of here." "Wait!" Victoria held up her hand. Her eyes were fixed on Mia's tablet. "What is that?" Mia stood up, still clutching her tablet. She looked impossibly small, surrounded by all these towering adults in their expensive suits. But her voice didn't waver. "I found your bug, ma'am. It's in the navigation module, line 4847. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me." "The recursive function, it calls itself but never returns a value. That's why the AI keeps looping. It doesn't know when to stop." Mia held up her tablet. If you add a return statement at the end condition, it should fix it. The room went silent, absolutely silent. Victoria stared at the little girl in the second-hand dress and scuffed shoes. Then she looked at her team of engineers, PhD holders, MIT graduates, experts with decades of experience. "Is that possible?" Victoria demanded. A senior engineer stepped forward nervously. He peered at Mia's tablet. His face went white. She's right. The return statement is missing. How did we miss that?" Raymond's face twisted. "This is ridiculous! She's a child! She can't possibly— Dr. Holt!" Victoria's voice was ice. "Be quiet!" She turned back to Mia. For a long moment she just studied the girl, the tangled hair, the worn clothes, the fierce determination in her young eyes. "What's your name?" Victoria asked. "Mia Chen, ma'am." "Chen." Victoria glanced at Marcus, taking in his janitor uniform, his calloused hands, his guarded expression. "Any relation?" "He's my dad." Victoria's eyes flickered with something unreadable. "I see. And where did you learn to code, Mia?" "My dad taught me. He's the smartest person I know." Marcus's throat tightened. He put his hand on Mia's shoulder. Victoria was silent for a moment, then she gestured toward the main terminal. "Show me." Mia walked to the terminal like she belonged there. The engineers parted for her, automatically too shocked to do anything else. This tiny girl in her worn dress carrying a cracked tablet approaching a $200 million systems like it was a homework assignment. She looked at the keyboard, then at the screen, then back at the keyboard. "Can I?" she asked politely. Victoria nodded. Mia's fingers began to move. She was small. She had to stand on her tiptoes to reach the keyboard properly. Her hands were so tiny that she typed with just her index fingers. But she knew exactly what she was doing. Line 4, 847, the recursive function, the missing return statement. She typed 7 words, "return navigation complete." She pressed enter. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the red warnings vanished. The screens flickered, and the massive display at the front of the room blazed to life. Project Phoenix online. All systems operational. The room exploded. Not into applause, into chaos. Engineers rushed to their workstations, checking diagnostics, confirming that the system was actually working. Navigation module online. Flight coordination confirmed. The simulation is running perfectly. Victoria Sterling stood frozen. She had built her career on being unshakable, on never showing surprise, on controlling every situation with iron will and calculated precision. But right now her mask had cracked. A 9-year-old girl had just saved a $200 million contract. A 9-year-old girl had just done what her entire engineering team couldn't. A 9-year-old girl whose father was the janitor. Victoria turned slowly to look at Marcus. He was still standing in the back of the room, his mop forgotten on the floor. His eyes were fixed on Mia with an expression of fierce, overwhelming pride. "Mr. Chen," Victoria said quietly. "A word." Raymond intercepted them before they could reach the hallway. "Victoria, this is insane. You can't seriously be considering—" "I said be quiet, Raymond." "She's a child. She probably just got lucky in him." Raymond jabbed a finger at Marcus. "He's a janitor. He's nobody. He's Marcus Chen." Raymond froze. Victoria's voice was cold, clinical. "Did you think I wouldn't look into my own employees? All my employees." She pulled out her phone and turned the screen toward Raymond. "Marcus Chen, former lead AI architect, designer of the Phoenix Neural Navigation System, terminated 3 years ago for performance issues." She looked up at Raymond. "Terminated by you?" Raymond's face went gray. "I can explain. I'm sure you can." Victoria's eyes were deadly. "I'm sure you can explain why you fired the man who built this system." I'm sure you can explain why his personnel file is full of documentation about missed meetings during the same period his wife was dying of cancer. I'm sure you can explain why his safety report about the navigation module, the same module that just crashed, was buried in a folder marked resolved when it was never addressed. Raymond opened his mouth. No words came out. Victoria stepped closer, her voice dropped to a whisper. I'm going to ask you one question, Raymond, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. She waited. Did you know that the man who designed our entire navigation system was mopping floors in this building while his code crashed our most important project? Raymond's silence was answer enough. Victoria nodded slowly. I see. She turned to Marcus. Her expression was unreadable. Mr. Chen, walk with me. They stepped into the hallway. Behind them, the war room was still buzzing, engineers celebrating, systems humming, a disaster averted. Victoria stopped by the window. The Chicago skyline stretched out below them, glittering in the evening light. How long have you been cleaning floors, Mr. Chen? 2 years and 4 months. And before that, 8 months of unemployment. Nobody would hire me. Victoria nodded. She didn't apologize. She didn't express sympathy. She just absorbed the information like data points in an equation. Your daughter, she said finally. How old is she? 9. She diagnosed a bug that stumped my entire R&D department in under 10 minutes. Yes, you taught her every night after my shift. Victoria turned to face him. For the first time, there was something almost human in her eyes. Why didn't you come forward when you saw the system crash? You knew that code. You probably knew exactly what was wrong. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Would you have listened? Victoria didn't answer. They both knew the truth. Mr. Chen. Marcus, if we're going to talk, you can call me Marcus. Victoria nodded. Marcus, I'm going to be direct with you. I don't do apologies well. I don't do sentiment. I do results. I've noticed. What happened to you was wrong. What Raymond did was wrong. The way this company treated you was wrong. She paused. But I can't change the past. I can only change what happens next. Marcus studied her face, looking for the catch, looking for the angle. What happens next? Victoria glanced back toward the war room. Through the glass, they could see Mia surrounded by engineers. She was explaining something on her tablet, gesturing excitedly. The adults were leaning in, listening. Your daughter is extraordinary, Victoria said softly. That kind of brilliance doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's taught. It's nurtured. She taught herself most of it. I just showed her the basics. You showed her how to think. That's the hardest part. Victoria turned back to him. Her business mask was firmly back in place. I have a proposition for you, Marcus. Not charity business. You know our systems better than anyone alive. You know why they fail and how to fix them. And apparently you've been teaching those skills to a 9-year-old who can outperform PhD engineers. What are you offering? A job. A real job. Not maintenance architecture. You'll oversee system integrity for Project Phoenix. Full salary, full benefits, full authority to rebuild whatever you think needs rebuilding. Marcus was silent. And for Mia, Victoria continued, full scholarship to any STEM program she wants. Private tutoring. Access to our research labs. Whatever she needs to develop her abilities. In exchange for what? Victoria smiled slightly. In exchange for fixing what's broken. Starting with the systems and eventually, she glanced back toward the war room, starting with the culture that threw you away in the first place. Marcus looked through the glass at his daughter. Mia had pulled up something on the main screen now. She was standing on a chair, pointing at lines of code, explaining something to a group of engineers who were nodding like students in a lecture hall. A 9-year-old girl teaching grown men how to think. What about Raymond? Marcus asked quietly. Victoria's expression hardened. Raymond Holt will be asked to resign by morning. He'll be given the same courtesy he gave you a security escort to the parking lot. No. Victoria blinked. No, don't fire him like that. Marcus turned to face her. Make him apologize publicly to everyone he's ever pushed out. Then let him choose whether to stay or go. That's remarkably generous. It's not generosity. Marcus's voice was tired. It's just, I don't want to become him. I don't want to be the kind of person who destroys someone just because they can. Victoria studied him for a long moment. You're a better man than most, Marcus Chen. I'm a father, that's all. I want my daughter to see that the right choice isn't always the easy one. Victoria nodded slowly. Then we'll do it your way. She extended her hand. Do we have a deal? Marcus looked at her hand, then at his daughter through the glass, then back at Victoria. 3 years of humiliation, 3 years of invisibility, 3 years of mopping floors and swallowing pride and wondering if he would ever matter again. And now in a single night everything had changed, because a 9-year-old girl had been brave enough to speak up when everyone else was silent. Marcus took Victoria's hand. We have a deal. The war room had gone quiet when they returned. Everyone was watching. Engineers, technicians, project managers. Raymond Holt, pale and sweating in the corner. And in the center of it all, Mia. She was still standing on the chair, her tablet clutched to her chest. When she saw Marcus, her face lit up. Dad, did you see the systems working? I helped fix it. Marcus walked to her and lifted her off the chair. He held her tight, burying his face in her hair. I saw genius. I saw everything. Are we in trouble? The lady looked really mad earlier. Marcus laughed, a real laugh, full and warm. No, sweetheart, we're not in trouble. Victoria stepped forward, the room tensed. Everyone listen carefully, Victoria said. Her voice carried effortlessly. Tonight, Project Phoenix was saved by a 9-year-old girl and her father. She let that sink in. Her father used to work here. He designed the neural navigation system that all of you have been failing to fix for the past 6 hours. He was let go 3 years ago under questionable circumstances. Eyes flickered to Raymond. He seemed to shrink. That changes tonight. Victoria gestured to Marcus. Marcus Chen is rejoining Nexus Dynamics as Senior System Architect, effective immediately. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, and his daughter Mia Chen will be granted full access to our research facilities and educational resources. She is now officially an honorary member of Project Phoenix. Mia's eyes went wide. Really? Victoria smiled, a genuine smile that transformed her face. Really? You've earned it? The room erupted into applause. Not nervous applause, not polite applause, real applause. Engineers who had laughed at Marcus hours earlier were now clapping for him, for his daughter, for the impossible thing that had just happened. One engineer stepped forward, the same young man who had told Marcus he missed a spot 2 years ago. Mr. Chen. His voice was small, embarrassed. I owe you an apology. For what? Marcus asked, though he knew. For not seeing you, for treating you like... He swallowed. I'm sorry. Marcus studied him for a moment, saw the genuine remorse, saw the young man he might have been once before the world taught him to look down on people. Apology accepted, Marcus said. Now get back to work, we've got a presentation in an hour. The engineer grinned. Yes, sir. The presentation was a triumph. Senator Morrison and his committee arrived at exactly 8 p.m. They were ushered into the demonstration hall where Project Phoenix awaited them. Victoria delivered the pitch. Marcus sat in the front row wearing a borrowed suit that almost fit. Mia sat beside him, her tablet on her lap, watching everything with hungry eyes. When the demonstration began, the drones moving in perfect formation, the navigation system flawless. The AI adapting to every obstacle, the senator's skepticism melted into awe. "Impressive," Morrison said afterward, shaking Victoria's hand. "Very impressive. I think we have a deal. $200 million, secured." Victoria caught Marcus's eye across the room and nodded. He nodded back. Later that night, Marcus and Mia walked out of Nexus Dynamics together. The building glowed behind them, towering and bright against the dark sky. Marcus carried Mia's tablet in one hand and held her hand with the other. "Dad?" Mia asked quietly. "Yes, sweetheart. What happens now?" Marcus stopped walking. He looked up at the building, the place that had broken him, then rebuilt him. The place where his daughter had achieved the impossible. "Now," he said softly, "we build something new. Together, always together." Mia squeezed his hand. "Dad." "Yeah, I'm really proud of you." Marcus's vision blurred. He knelt down and pulled her into a hug. "I'm proud of you too, genius, more than you'll ever know." They stayed like that for a long moment, father and daughter, survivors, warriors, a team of two against the world. Then Mia pulled back, her face suddenly serious. "Dad, can we get ice cream? I'm starving." Marcus laughed out loud. "Yeah, sweetheart, we can get ice cream." They walked together into the night, hand in hand, leaving the glass tower behind. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, new chances to prove themselves. But tonight they had won, and that was enough. The ice cream was melting in Mia's hands when Marcus's phone rang. They were sitting on a bench outside the convenience store 2 blocks from Nexus Dynamics. The night air was cool. Mia's legs swung back and forth as she attacked her chocolate cone with determination. Marcus looked at the screen. Unknown number. He answered anyway. "Hello, Mr. Chen," a woman's voice. Professional, clipped. "This is Sandra Wells from Channel 7 News. We understand you were involved in the Project Phoenix incident tonight. Would you be available for an interview?" Marcus froze. "How did you get this number?" "Sources inside Nexus Dynamics. Mr. Chen, our viewers would love to hear the story of..." Marcus hung up. His phone rang again. Different number. "Mr. Chen, Brian Torres, Chicago Tribune. I'm writing a piece about..." He hung up again. Mia looked up from her ice cream. "Who keeps calling Dad? Nobody important." His phone buzzed. Then again. Then again. Messages flooding in. Voicemails piling up. Marcus stared at the screen with growing dread. In the span of an hour, their quiet victory had become public spectacle. "Dad, you look scared." Marcus forced a smile. "I'm not scared, sweetheart. Just tired." But he was scared. Terrified, actually. Because he knew how this world worked. Heroes today became targets tomorrow, and someone somewhere was already sharpening their knives. They walked home in silence. Mia fell asleep on the train, her head resting against Marcus's shoulder, her half-eaten cone leaving chocolate stains on his borrowed suit. Marcus didn't mind. He held her close and watched the city lights blur past the window. Tomorrow everything would change. He just didn't know how much. The apartment was dark when they arrived. Marcus carried Mia to her bed, tucked her in, and stood in the doorway watching her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, so unaware of the storm that was coming. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Victoria Sterling. "Marcus, we need to talk. My office, 7 a.m. sharp." No greeting, no pleasantries, just orders. Marcus typed back, "I'll be there." He didn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table staring at the wall, thinking about Lily, thinking about all the times she had told him to be careful, to watch his back, to remember that the corporate world was a battlefield dressed in business casual. They'll smile at you while they sharpen the knife, she used to say. Trust your instincts, Marcus. They've never been wrong. His instincts were screaming now. Something was wrong. He could feel it. The victory had been too easy, the resolution too clean, Victoria's offer too generous. There was something he wasn't seeing. At 6 a.m., he woke Mia gently. Sweetheart, I have to go to work early. Mrs. Patterson from next door is going to watch you until the bus comes. Mia rubbed her eyes. Are you going back to the big building? Yes. Are you going to mop floors again? Marcus smiled sadly. No, genius. Not anymore. Good. Mia yawned. You're too smart to mop floors, Dad. Mom always said so. Marcus's heart clenched. She did. Every night, when you were working late and she thought I was asleep. Mia's eyes were clear now, focused. She said you were the smartest man she ever met, and that someday the world would see it too. Marcus couldn't speak. He just pulled her into a hug and held on. I love you, Dad. I love you too, genius. More than anything. The train ride to Nexus Dynamics felt different now. Yesterday, Marcus had been invisible. Just another tired worker in a gray uniform, head down, eyes empty. Nobody looked at him. Nobody acknowledged him. He was furniture, background noise. Today, people stared. A woman across the aisle was reading something on her phone. She glanced up at Marcus, then back at her screen, then back at Marcus again. Excuse me, she said hesitantly. Are you Marcus Chen, the janitor from the news? Marcus's stomach dropped. The news. The woman turned her phone toward him. The headline hit him like a punch to the gut. Janitor's daughter saves $200 million deal, Nexus Dynamics humiliated. Below it was a photo, grainy, taken from a security camera. Marcus in his janitor uniform standing in the war room. Mia beside him holding her tablet. The article was brutal. It described how Nexus Dynamics' elite engineering team had been shown up by a 9-year-old girl. It quoted anonymous sources calling the company incompetent and arrogant. It painted Victoria Sterling as a cold executive who had mocked a working-class father before being humiliated by his child. And it named Raymond Holt as the man who had allegedly blacklisted Marcus 3 years ago. Marcus read the article twice, then 3 times. His hands were shaking. This wasn't journalism, this was a hit piece. Someone had fed this story to the press, carefully crafted to cause maximum damage, but damage to whom? Are you okay? The woman asked. Marcus handed back her phone. Fine, thank you. He got off at the next stop and walked the rest of the way, his mind racing. Who had leaked the story? Why? What did they gain from turning a private victory into a public scandal? By the time he reached Nexus Dynamics, he had a theory, and he prayed he was wrong. Victoria's office was on the 50th floor. Marcus had never been there before. As a janitor, he had cleaned every floor except this one. The executive suite was handled by a separate team, trusted employees with security clearances and signed NDAs. The elevator doors opened onto a corridor of polished marble and soft lighting. A receptionist looked up as Marcus approached. Mr. Chen, Ms. Sterling is expecting you. Please go in. The office was enormous. Victoria sat behind a desk made of glass and steel, her face illuminated by multiple screens. She didn't look up when Marcus entered. Close the door. Marcus closed it. Sit down. He sat. For a long moment, Victoria just typed. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with mechanical precision. Whatever she was reading, it wasn't good. Finally, she stopped. She looked up at Marcus with eyes that could have frozen fire. Have you seen the news on the train? Then you know we have a problem. Victoria turned one of her screens toward him. The headline was different from the one he had seen, but the message was the same: Nexus Dynamics in crisis engineering team outperformed by child. 12 major outlets have picked up the story, Victoria said flatly. Our stock dropped 4% in pre-market trading. Senator Morrison's office called this morning. They're reassessing their decision. Marcus felt the floor shift beneath him. The contract, still pending, but barely. Victoria leaned back in her chair. Someone leaked that story, Marcus. Someone inside this company wanted to burn us down. Who? Victoria's jaw tightened. That's what I need to find out. She stood and walked to the window. The city stretched out below them, vast and indifferent. I underestimated the situation, she said quietly. I thought last night was a triumph. I thought we had turned a crisis into an opportunity. She turned to face him. I was wrong. What do you mean? The board met this morning. Emergency session. They're concerned about the optics. Marcus's blood ran cold. Optics? A janitor's daughter fixing our code. It's a great story for the public, but for investors... Victoria shook her head. It looks like incompetence. It looks like our systems are so flawed that a child can diagnose them. It looks like our leadership failed. Your leadership saved the company last night. The board doesn't see it that way. Victoria's voice was bitter. They see a CEO who was publicly humiliated. They see a PR disaster. They see a stock price in free fall. She walked back to her desk and sat down heavily. They want a scapegoat, Marcus. The word hung in the air like poison. A scapegoat, Marcus repeated slowly. Someone to blame, someone to fire publicly, someone to sacrifice to the media gods so the story can move on. Victoria met his eyes. They want Raymond. Marcus should have felt satisfaction. Raymond Holt had destroyed his career, had blacklisted him, had forced him to mop floors for 2 years while his code ran on servers overhead. But he didn't feel satisfied. He felt sick. Raymond leaked the story. Victoria nodded. I suspected as much. He's been with the company for 23 years. He has contacts everywhere, including the press. Why would he burn his own company? Because he's going down anyway. He knows I was planning to remove him. Victoria's voice was ice. If he can't have Nexus Dynamics, he'll destroy it. That's the kind of man Raymond Holt is. Marcus was quiet for a moment, processing, calculating. What do you want from me? Victoria reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a folder. She slid it across to Marcus. Raymond's personnel file, unredacted. Marcus opened it. His eyes scanned the pages, performance reviews, project reports, email logs, financial records, and then he saw it. He's been embezzling, Marcus breathed. For 6 years, small amounts at first, consulting fees to shell companies. Reimbursements for expenses that never happened, but it adds up. Victoria's voice was grim. Nearly $2 million. Marcus looked up. You knew about this. I found out 3 weeks ago. I was building a case quietly. I didn't want to spook him before I had enough evidence. And now he's spooked anyway, and he's fighting back. Victoria stood again. She walked around the desk and stopped in front of Marcus. I need your help. My help. You know Raymond, you worked with him. You understand how he thinks. She paused. And more importantly, you have something I don't. What's that, Joe? Credibility. Marcus almost laughed. I'm a janitor. You were a janitor. Today you're the man whose daughter exposed a $200 million bug. You're the underdog, the hero. The media loves you. Victoria's eyes were intense. If I fire Raymond, it looks like corporate retaliation. Like I'm covering up my own failures, but if you expose him, it looks like justice. Exactly. Marcus stared at the folder in his hands. $2 million, 6 years of theft, a career built on lies and manipulation, and Victoria wanted him to be the one to tear it down. Why me? He asked quietly. You have lawyers, investigators, a whole PR team. Why do you need me? Victoria was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, almost human. Because this isn't just about Raymond anymore. It's about what this company becomes, what we stand for. She gestured toward the window. Out there, millions of people are reading about a janitor's daughter who outperformed our best engineers. They're reading about a company that threw away talent because of politics and ego. They're asking themselves, is Nexus Dynamics worth trusting? She turned back to Marcus. I can fire Raymond, I can clean up the financial mess, I can spin the story however I want, but none of that matters if people don't believe we've actually changed. And you think I can make them believe? I think you're the only one who can. Marcus looked down at the folder, then at Victoria, then at the city beyond the window. He thought about Mia, about the world she would inherit, about the kind of man he wanted her to see when she looked at her father. I'll do it, he said, on one condition. Name it. Mia stays out of this. No interviews, no press, no photos. She's 9 years old. I won't let her become a prop in anyone's story. Victoria nodded immediately. Agreed. She'll be protected completely. Marcus stood. He tucked the folder under his arm. One more thing. Yes, when this is over, when Raymond is gone and the dust settles, I want full access to the Phoenix codebase, not just oversight, full access. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Why? Because that system has flaws beyond the one Mia found. Structural flaws, design flaws, flaws that Raymond buried when he pushed me out. Marcus's voice hardened. If Nexus Dynamics is going to be trusted with a $200 million defense contract, those flaws need to be fixed by someone who actually understands them. Victoria studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled, a real smile. You have yourself a deal, Mr. Chen. Raymond Holt was not going quietly. By noon, he had hired 3 lawyers, given 2 anonymous interviews, and filed a wrongful termination complaint with the labor board. He claimed he was being scapegoated. He claimed Victoria was corrupt. He claimed Marcus was a disgruntled former employee seeking revenge. The media ate it up. Headlines shifted. The story was no longer about a janitor's brilliant daughter. It was about corporate warfare, allegations and counter-allegations, accusations flying in every direction. Marcus watched the chaos unfold from his new office, a small room on the 45th floor between the engineering labs and the executive suite. It wasn't much, but it had a window and a door that locked. His phone rang, an unknown number. He answered it against his better judgment. Mr. Chen, a man's voice, deep, confident. Please don't hang up, I'm not a reporter. Then who are you? My name is David Chen. No relation. Brief pause. I'm Raymond Holt's attorney. Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. I don't have anything to say to you. I understand, but before you hang up, there's something you should know. The lawyer's voice dropped. Raymond wants to talk, off the record, just you and him. Why? Because he has information that could change everything you think you know about what happened 3 years ago. Marcus's heart was pounding. What kind of information? The kind that proves you weren't the only one Raymond destroyed. And the kind that proves Victoria Sterling isn't the hero she's pretending to be. The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone for a long time. His instincts were screaming again. Louder than before. Something was very, very wrong with this picture, and he was standing right in the middle of it. The meeting happened at midnight. Marcus told no one, not Victoria, not security, not even Mrs. Patterson, who was watching Mia while he worked late. He met Raymond in the parking garage, level B3. The same level where security had escorted Marcus out 3 years ago. Raymond looked different now. older, thinner. The confidence that had once radiated from him was gone, replaced by something desperate and feral. "Marcus," Raymond's voice echoed off the concrete walls. "Thank you for coming." "Say what you have to say," Raymond laughed bitterly. "Still direct, I always respected that about you, even when I was destroying your career. Is that supposed to be an apology?" "No, it's an acknowledgement." Raymond stepped closer. His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. "I did terrible things to you, Marcus. I lied. I manipulated. I made sure no one would hire you." "I know, but I wasn't alone." Marcus's blood froze. "What?" "Victoria Sterling." Raymond's voice was barely a whisper. "She was on the board 3 years ago, junior member, rising star. She saw your talent. She saw the threat you posed." "What are you talking about?" "The blacklist, Marcus, the one that followed you everywhere you applied." Raymond's eyes bore into his. "I wrote the report, but she distributed it. She made sure every company in the industry knew you were unstable, unreliable, a liability." Marcus couldn't breathe. "You're lying." "Am I?" Raymond pulled out his phone. "I have emails, timestamps, a paper trail that leads straight to her office." He held up the screen. "She didn't just let me fire you, Marcus. She helped. She wanted you gone just as badly as I did." "Why?" "Because you were too good, because if you stayed, you would have exposed the Phoenix flaws years ago, flaws that would have cost the company hundreds of millions in delays." Raymond's voice cracked. "She needed Phoenix to succeed. Her entire career depended on it, and you were the one person who could have stopped it." Marcus stared at the phone screen. The emails were real. The signatures were genuine. The timeline matched perfectly. Victoria Sterling had helped destroy him, and then 3 years later she had offered him a job. "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus asked. Raymond lowered his phone. For a moment he looked almost human. "Because I'm done. I'm going to prison for the embezzlement. We both know that, but Victoria..." He shook his head. "She's going to walk away clean. She's going to use you to destroy me, and then she's going to pretend she was the hero all along." "What do you want me to do?" Raymond stepped back. "Nothing. I'm not asking you for anything. I just wanted you to know the truth." He started walking toward his car. "What you do with it is up to you." Marcus watched him go. His mind was spinning. Everything he thought he knew was crumbling. Victoria Sterling, the woman who had offered him redemption, the woman who had praised his daughter, the woman who had promised to change everything. She had been his enemy all along. Marcus drove home in a daze. He parked outside his apartment building and sat in the car for 20 minutes staring at nothing. What was he supposed to do now? Confront Victoria, she would deny everything. Bury the evidence. Make him look like a paranoid fool. Go to the press, they would tear him apart. He would be the disgruntled janitor attacking the CEO who gave him a second chance. Walk away, impossible. Not with Mia's future on the line. Not with everything they had worked for. His phone buzzed, a text from Victoria. "Marcus, excellent work today. The board is impressed. We're announcing Raymond's termination tomorrow morning. Be ready for questions." Marcus stared at the message. She had no idea what he knew. No idea that her carefully constructed facade was about to crack. Or maybe she did. Maybe this was all part of her plan. Marcus climbed out of the car and walked into his building. His legs felt heavy, his head was pounding. Mrs. Patterson was waiting in the hallway. "Mr. Chen, thank goodness you're back." Her face was pale, worried. "Mia's been asking for you." She wouldn't go to sleep. Marcus's heart clenched. "Is she okay?" "She's fine, just worried. She saw something on the news about you, about the company." Marcus pushed past her and ran up the stairs. Mia was sitting on her bed, her tablet clutched to her chest. Her eyes were red from crying. "Dad!" She jumped up and ran to him. "Dad, they're saying bad things about you on TV. They're saying you're going to lose your job again." Marcus knelt down and held her tight. "It's okay, sweetheart. It's just noise. Don't listen to them. But they said you did something wrong. They said the lady at the company is angry at you." "What lady?" Mia pulled back and held up her tablet. On the screen was a news clip. Victoria Sterling standing at a podium, her face a mask of controlled fury. "Nexus Dynamics will not tolerate attempts to undermine our leadership. We are conducting a full investigation into all parties involved in the recent security breach, including those who may have had prior motivations." The camera cut to a photo of Marcus, his janitor ID photo, looking tired, defeated, guilty. Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him. Victoria knew. She knew that Raymond had talked to him. She knew about the emails. She knew about the midnight meeting, and she was making her move. "Dad." Mia's voice was small, scared. "Are we going to be okay?" Marcus looked at his daughter. His brilliant, brave, beautiful daughter. "Yes, sweetheart," he said quietly. "We're going to be okay, I promise." But as he held her, he knew the truth. The war was just beginning, and he was fighting on two fronts now. Against Raymond Holt, who wanted to drag him down into the mud, and against Victoria Sterling, who wanted to bury him completely. Marcus stayed awake all night. He sat at the kitchen table with Raymond's emails spread out before him. He read them over and over, looking for weaknesses, for leverage, for anything that could turn the tide. At 3 a.m. he found it. A single email, buried in a chain of mundane corporate communications, easy to miss if you weren't looking. From Victoria Sterling to Raymond Holt, subject RE. Chen's situation. "Handle it however you need to. Just make sure there's no trail back to me. The board cannot know." Marcus stared at the screen. No trail back to me. The board cannot know. Victoria wasn't just complicit. She was the architect. Raymond had been her weapon, her tool, her deniable asset, and now she was disposing of him the same way she had disposed of Marcus. Marcus saved the email, made 3 copies, stored them in different locations. Then he sat back and thought. Victoria Sterling was smart, ruthless, connected. She had built her career on reading people, anticipating their moves, neutralizing threats before they materialized. If Marcus confronted her directly, she would destroy him. But if he was patient, if he was careful, if he played the long game. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in 3 years. "Hello," a sleepy voice. Confused. "Dr. Williams. This is Marcus Chen. I know it's late, but I need your help." Silence on the other end, then, "Marcus, my God, I thought you had disappeared." "I had, but I'm back now." Marcus's voice was steady, determined. "And I need the files, the ones you saved when Raymond forced you out." Another silence, longer this time. "Those files could destroy careers, including mine." "I know. Including yours." "I know that too." Dr. Williams, formerly Chief Safety Officer at Nexus Dynamics, forced into early retirement 2 months after Marcus was fired, exhaled slowly. "What are you planning, Marcus?" "Justice. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have." More silence. Then, "The files are in a safety deposit box, First National Bank, downtown." A pause. "I'll text you the details. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Dr. Williams' voice was heavy. "Victoria Sterling has destroyed everyone who's ever threatened her. Everyone. You know that." "I do. And you're going to fight her anyway." Marcus thought about Mia, about Lily, about every person who had been crushed by this company's ruthless machinery. Yes, he said. I am. Dr. Williams was quiet for a long moment. Then God help you, Marcus Chen, because no one else will. The line went dead. Marcus set down his phone and looked out the window. The first light of dawn was creeping over the Chicago skyline. Today, Victoria Sterling would announce Raymond's termination. Today, the media would celebrate her as a reformer, a leader, a hero. Today, the world would believe the story she had carefully crafted. But tomorrow, the truth would begin to surface. And Victoria Sterling would learn that the janitor she had thrown away was not so easily broken. Marcus stood up and walked to Mia's room. He opened the door quietly and watched her sleep. I'm going to fix this, he whispered. For you, for Mom, for everyone they hurt. Mia stirred slightly but didn't wake. Marcus closed the door and headed for the shower. He had a war to win. The safety deposit box was heavier than Marcus expected. He stood in the sterile vault of First National Bank, his hands trembling as he lifted the metal container onto the viewing table. Dr. Williams had kept his word. The key had arrived by courier at 6 a.m. along with a note. Everything is inside. Use it wisely. Then forget you ever knew me. Marcus opened the box. Inside were 3 thick folders, 2 USB drives, and a sealed envelope marked for emergency only. He started with the folders. The first contained internal memos from Nexus Dynamics Safety Division. Reports that had been filed, warnings that had been issued, problems that had been documented and then buried. The second folder was worse. It contained termination records, 17 employees over 4 years. All from the safety and compliance departments, all fired within weeks of raising concerns about Project Phoenix. The third folder made Marcus's blood run cold. It was his file. Not the sanitized version Raymond had used to destroy his reputation. The real file, complete with performance reviews that called him exceptional. Project assessments that credited him with saving the company millions. Emails from colleagues praising his work ethic, his integrity, his brilliance. And at the bottom, a single document that changed everything. A memo from Victoria Sterling to the board of directors. Dated 2 weeks before Marcus was fired. Chen represents a significant liability. His insistence on addressing the navigation module vulnerabilities could delay Phoenix by 18 months and cost us the Morrison contract. Recommend immediate termination. Holt will handle the details. Marcus read it 3 times. Recommend immediate termination. Holt will handle the details. Victoria hadn't just approved his firing. She had ordered it. His phone buzzed. A text from Mia. Dad, I'm at school. Mrs. Patterson made me pancakes. Love you. Marcus closed his eyes. His daughter was eating pancakes while he held evidence that could destroy one of the most powerful women in Chicago. He gathered the files, tucked them into his bag, and walked out of the bank. The war had just escalated. Victoria's press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. Marcus arrived at Nexus Dynamics at 9:30. The lobby was packed with reporters, cameras, security personnel. Everyone waiting for the CEO to deliver Raymond Holt's head on a silver platter. Marcus pushed through the crowd and took the elevator to the 45th floor. His office. His sanctuary. The only place in this building where he could think clearly. But when the elevator doors opened, someone was waiting for him. Victoria Sterling stood in the hallway, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Marcus, we need to talk. I was just heading to my office. This can't wait. She turned and walked toward the executive suite. Marcus had no choice but to follow. Victoria's office was different in daylight, colder somehow. The massive windows that had seemed impressive last night now felt like walls closing in. She closed the door behind them, locked it. Sit down. Marcus remained standing. I'd rather not. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly. I see. We're past pleasantries then. Were we ever at pleasantries? Victoria walked to her desk but didn't sit. She stood behind it like a general surveying a battlefield. You met with Raymond last night. It wasn't a question. How do you know that I know everything that happens in this building, in this city, in this industry? Victoria's voice was ice. You parked on level B3 at 11:47 p.m. You spoke with Raymond for 18 minutes. You left at 12:23 a.m. Marcus's jaw tightened. So you had me followed. I had you protected. There's a difference. Is there? Victoria smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Marcus, I like you. I genuinely do. Your daughter is extraordinary. Your skills are invaluable. I meant everything I said about changing this company. But you're about to make a very serious mistake. She leaned forward, her palms flat on the desk. Raymond Holt is a desperate man. Desperate men lie. They manipulate, they twist the truth to serve their own survival. He showed me emails. I'm sure he did. Emails from you, ordering my termination. Victoria didn't flinch. Not even a flicker of surprise. Those emails are real, she said calmly. Marcus blinked. You're admitting it. I'm confirming it. Victoria straightened. 3 years ago, I was a junior board member. I had no real power. Raymond came to me with concerns about your performance. He said you were unstable, distracted, that your wife's illness was affecting your judgment. That's not true. I know that now, but I didn't know it then. Victoria's voice softened. I trusted Raymond. I believed his reports. I approved his recommendation because I thought I was protecting the company. You destroyed my career. I made a mistake. Victoria held his gaze. A terrible mistake. One I'm trying to correct. Marcus wanted to believe her. Part of him desperately wanted to believe that she was telling the truth, that she had been manipulated just like everyone else, that she genuinely wanted to make things right. But the memo in his bag told a different story. Chen represents a significant liability. Those weren't Raymond's words, they were hers. Why should I trust you? Marcus asked quietly. You shouldn't. Victoria walked around the desk and stopped inches from him. Trust is earned. I haven't earned it yet, but I'm asking you for a chance, one chance to prove that I've changed. And if I say no, Victoria's expression hardened. Then we have a problem. Because Raymond Holt isn't just trying to save himself. He's trying to destroy everything I've built. And if you help him do that, you become my enemy. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper. I have spent 5 years climbing to this position. I have sacrificed everything, my relationships, my health, my conscience. I will not let one desperate man and one misguided janitor tear it all down. Marcus felt the words like a slap. Misguided janitor. There it was, the truth beneath the polish, the contempt that Victoria had hidden behind her generous offers and sympathetic smiles. I think we're done here, Marcus said. We're done when I say we're done. No, Marcus turned toward the door. We're done now. He unlocked the door and walked out. Victoria's voice followed him into the hallway. Marcus, think very carefully about your next move, because once you make it, there's no going back. He didn't respond. He just kept walking. The press conference was a masterpiece of manipulation. Marcus watched from the back of the auditorium as Victoria Sterling delivered Raymond Holt's professional obituary. Her voice was measured, sorrowful, almost sympathetic. It is with deep regret that I announce the termination of Dr. Raymond Holt, Chief Technology Officer of Nexus Dynamics. Following a thorough investigation, we have discovered significant financial irregularities spanning 6 years. The reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras flashed. Dr. Holt's actions represent a betrayal of trust. Not just to this company, but to every employee, every investor, every partner who believed in our mission. Victoria paused, letting the words sink in. However, I want to be clear about one thing. The recent success of Project Phoenix was not despite Dr. Holt's tenure. It was because of the extraordinary people who work at this company. People like Marcus Chen, whose dedication and expertise helped save a $200 million contract. People like his daughter Mia, whose brilliance reminded us all that innovation has no age limit. Marcus felt sick. She was using him, using Mia, turning their victory into her redemption story. Nexus Dynamics is entering a new era, Victoria continued. An era of transparency, accountability, and integrity. I personally guarantee that the failures of the past will not be repeated. The applause was thunderous. Victoria smiled graciously, answered a few softball questions, and exited the stage like a conquering hero. Marcus slipped out the back door before anyone could notice him. He needed air, he needed space, he needed to think. His phone rang, unknown number. He answered, "Hello, Mr. Chen." A woman's voice, unfamiliar. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm a producer at 60 Minutes. We're doing a story on corporate whistleblowers and your name came up." Marcus's heart stopped. "How did you get this number?" "Dr. Helen Williams gave it to me. She said you might have information that the public needs to hear." Marcus looked around. The parking garage was empty, no cameras, no witnesses. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Mr. Chen, I understand your hesitation, but Dr. Williams told me about the files, the memos, the 17 employees who were fired for speaking up." Sarah's voice was urgent. "This story is bigger than Raymond Holt. It's bigger than Victoria Sterling. It's about a system that destroys anyone who threatens it." "I can't talk about this on the phone." "Then meet with me, off the record, just a conversation." Marcus closed his eyes. This was it, the moment of decision, the point of no return. He thought about Mia, about the future he wanted to give her, about the kind of man he wanted to be. "Where?" he asked. "There's a coffee shop on Michigan Avenue. The Blue Door, tomorrow at noon. I'll be there." He hung up and leaned against his car. His hands were shaking. In 48 hours, he would either be a hero or a pariah. There was no middle ground. Mia was waiting for him when he got home. She was sitting at the kitchen table, her tablet open, her face tight with concentration. "Dad." She jumped up and ran to him. "You're home early." "Finished up some things." He hugged her tight. "How was school?" "Boring. We did fractions again." She pulled back and looked at him. "Dad, are you okay? You look tired." "I'm fine, sweetheart." "You always say that." Marcus smiled sadly. "Because it's always true." Mia didn't look convinced. She led him to the table and pointed at her tablet. "Look what I made." On the screen was a simple program, a digital greeting card with animated flowers and the words, "World's Best Dad," scrolling across the top. "I made it for you," Mia said, "because you've been working so hard, and because," she hesitated, "because I wanted you to know I'm proud of you." Marcus's throat tightened. He pulled her onto his lap and held her close. "I'm proud of you too, genius. More than you'll ever know." "Dad?" "Yeah, the lady on TV, the pretty one from your company." Mia looked up at him. "Is she nice?" Marcus didn't know how to answer. "She seems nice," he said carefully. "But is she actually nice, like on the inside?" Marcus thought about Victoria's cold eyes, her calculated smiles, her whispered threats. "I don't know yet, sweetheart. I'm still figuring that out." Mia nodded slowly. "Mom used to say you can tell a lot about people by how they treat waiters." She did say that. So how does the pretty lady treat waiters? Marcus almost laughed. His 9-year-old daughter had just asked the most insightful question anyone had posed all week. I don't know, but I'll find out. Good. Mia snuggled against his chest. Because I don't want bad people hurting you again, Dad. Once was enough. Marcus kissed the top of her head. Once was enough, he agreed. The next morning, Marcus made a decision. He called in sick to work, told Victoria's assistant he had a stomach bug. Then he drove to the coffee shop on Michigan Avenue. Sarah Mitchell was already there. She was younger than he expected, mid-30s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense haircut. She stood when he approached and extended her hand. Mr. Chen, thank you for coming. I haven't agreed to anything yet. I know. She gestured to the seat across from her. Coffee. Black. She ordered for both of them and waited until the server left before speaking again. Dr. Williams told me everything. The files, the memos, the systematic cover-up of safety concerns at Nexus Dynamics. Dr. Williams talks too much. She's scared, they all are. Sarah leaned forward. 17 employees, Mr. Chen, 17 people who tried to do the right thing and were destroyed for it. You were one of them. I know what I was. Do you know what you could be? Marcus met her eyes. What? The one who finally exposes the truth. Sarah's voice was intense. Victoria Sterling has built her empire on lies. She's positioned herself as a reformer, a change-maker, a champion of corporate ethics. But underneath, she's the same as Raymond Holt, maybe worse. Worse. Raymond was a thug, obvious, clumsy. Victoria is surgical. She doesn't just destroy her enemies, she makes them destroy themselves. Sarah paused. Sarah, look at Raymond. Right now he's the villain, the embezzler, the scapegoat, but who put him in that position, who gave him the power to do what he did? Victoria. Exactly. She created the monster, used the monster, and when the monster became a liability, she slayed it publicly. Sarah shook her head. That's not reform, that's theater. Marcus was silent for a long moment. What do you want from me? Your story, on camera with documentation. That would destroy my career. Your career at Nexus Dynamics. Sarah nodded. But it could save countless others. Think about it. How many more Marcus Chens are out there? How many talented people are being crushed right now by companies that value loyalty over integrity? Marcus thought about the 17 names in Dr. Williams's files. 17 people with families. 17 people with dreams. 17 people who had been erased. If I do this, he said slowly, Victoria will come after me, hard. She'll try. She'll try to take my daughter. Sarah's expression softened. We can protect you. Legally. Publicly. Once your story is out there, attacking you becomes a PR nightmare. And if she doesn't care about PR, then we expose that too. Sarah reached into her bag and pulled out a card. Think about it. You have 48 hours. After that, we move forward with or without you. Marcus took the card. With or without me. Dr. Williams gave us enough to start the investigation. But you're the centerpiece, the human element, the father who lost everything and found redemption. Sarah stood. Without you, it's a corporate scandal. With you, it's a movement. She dropped a 20 on the table and walked out. Marcus sat alone, staring at the card in his hand. 48 hours. 48 hours to decide if he was going to burn his life to the ground. His phone rang. Victoria. He let it go to voicemail. Then again, Victoria. Then a text, Marcus, I know you're not sick. We need to talk, now. He ignored it. Another text, I'm trying to help you. Don't make me your enemy. Then another. I know about Sarah Mitchell. Marcus's blood froze. How could she possibly know? His phone rang again. This time he answered. How do you know about Sarah Mitchell? Victoria's voice was calm, too calm. I told you, Marcus, I know everything. Are you having me followed? I'm having you protected. There's a difference. Stop saying that. Then stop forcing me to protect you. Victoria's voice hardened. Sarah Mitchell is dangerous. She doesn't care about truth. She cares about ratings. She'll use you, twist your story, and discard you when you're no longer useful. Sounds familiar. Silence on the line. That was cruel, Victoria said quietly. It was honest. No, it was uninformed. Victoria took a breath. Marcus, I made mistakes. I've admitted that, but I am not your enemy. Raymond Holt is. Sarah Mitchell is. The media that wants to tear you apart for clicks is. And you? I'm the one person who actually wants to help you. Prove it. More silence. Come to my office tonight, 8 p.m. I'll show you everything. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, but you should trust your own judgment. Victoria's voice softened. Bring the files. All of them. Let me see what Raymond gave you. Let me explain. And if you still don't believe me after that, then do whatever you think is right. Marcus hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to stay away, to protect himself and Mia and never set foot in that building again. But there was something in Victoria's voice, something he hadn't heard before. Fear. Victoria Sterling was afraid, and that changed everything. 8 p.m., Marcus said. Don't make me regret this. He hung up and sat in silence. The trap was set. He just didn't know who was walking into it. Marcus spent the afternoon making copies, every document, every email, every memo. He scanned them all and uploaded them to 3 separate cloud accounts. Then he printed hard copies and left them with Mrs. Patterson. If anything happens to me, he told her, give these to Sarah Mitchell. Her number is on the envelope. Mrs. Patterson's face went pale. Marcus, what's going on? Nothing. Probably nothing. He forced a smile. Just being careful. He kissed Mia goodbye and told her he had a late meeting. Be safe, Dad. Always genius. He arrived at Nexus Dynamics at 7:45 p.m. The building was nearly empty. Security nodded as he passed through the lobby. The elevator ride to the 50th floor felt endless. Victoria's office door was open. She was standing by the window, her back to him, staring out at the city lights. Close the door. Marcus closed it. Did you bring the files? He set his bag on the chair. Everything Raymond gave me. Everything Dr. Williams saved. Everything. Victoria turned around. Her face was different tonight. The mask was cracking. The polished exterior was fading. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. She walked to her desk and sat down heavily. For a long moment she just looked at him. Do you know why I became CEO? Ambition, the necessity. Victoria's voice was hollow. My father built Nexus Dynamics from nothing. 40 years of his life, his blood, his sweat, his marriage. Marcus frowned. Your father, James Sterling, founder, original CEO. Victoria smiled bitterly. He died 5 years ago. Heart attack. The stress of running this company killed him. Marcus didn't know this. Nothing in the files had mentioned James Sterling's connection to Victoria. I inherited everything, Victoria continued. His company, his debts, his enemies. She looked at Marcus with something like desperation. Do you know what it's like to take over an empire that's already crumbling, to smile at investors while the foundation rots beneath you? I know what it's like to lose everything. Then you know why I made the choices I made. Victoria stood and walked toward him. 3 years ago, Project Phoenix was failing. The navigation system was unstable. The timeline was impossible. Raymond told me we had one option: eliminate the people who kept raising problems. People like me. People like you. Victoria nodded. I didn't want to do it. I hated myself for doing it. But I was 29 years old trying to save my father's legacy, surrounded by men who wanted me to fail. That doesn't excuse what you did. No, it doesn't. Victoria's eyes glistened. But maybe it explains it. Maybe it helps you understand that I'm not a monster. I'm just a person who made terrible choices under impossible pressure. Marcus studied her face, looking for the lie, looking for the angle. He couldn't find it. What do you want from me, Victoria? The same thing I wanted that first night, a chance. She took a step closer. Help me fix this. Help me build something better, not for me, for everyone who was hurt, for everyone who deserves a second chance. And Sarah Mitchell, forget her. She'll destroy us both. Victoria's voice was urgent. I have a better plan, a press conference, tomorrow. We announce the Phoenix Rising Initiative, a full scholarship program for underprivileged STEM students. Named after Mia. Marcus's heart clenched. After Mia, she inspired it. She deserves the credit. Victoria's eyes were intense. We take the narrative back. We make this about redemption, not scandal. We show the world that Nexus Dynamics has truly changed. It was perfect. Too perfect. Every instinct in Marcus's body was screaming. But looking at Victoria, at the tears forming in her eyes, at the desperation in her voice, he couldn't tell if she was the most honest person he'd ever met or the most dangerous. I need to think about it, he said finally. You have until morning. Marcus picked up his bag and walked toward the door. Marcus! He stopped. Whatever you decide, I want you to know something. Victoria's voice cracked. I'm sorry. For everything. Truly sorry. He didn't turn around. He just walked out. The elevator doors closed behind him and Marcus slumped against the wall. He had come here expecting a confrontation, a battle, a clear enemy. Instead, he had found something far more complicated. A woman who might be telling the truth, or a woman who had perfected the art of the lie, and he had 12 hours to figure out which. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Don't believe her, she's playing you. Check your email. A friend. Marcus opened his email. His blood turned to ice. It was a video, security footage from 3 years ago. Victoria Sterling's office. Victoria was sitting at her desk. Raymond stood across from her. The Chen problem is handled, Victoria asked. Completely. His reputation is destroyed. No one will touch him. Victoria smiled. Good. Make sure the blacklist reaches every company in the Midwest. I don't want him finding work anywhere. What about his family? What about them? His wife is sick. Terminal, apparently. And he has a daughter. Victoria's expression didn't change. Not our problem. Chen made his choice when he threatened this project. Raymond nodded. Understood. The video ended. Marcus stared at his phone. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. Not our problem. Chen made his choice. Victoria Sterling had looked him in the eyes tonight, had cried, had apologized, had begged for forgiveness, and it was all a performance. Every word, every tear, every carefully calculated moment of vulnerability. She was a monster wearing a human mask, and Marcus had almost believed her. His phone buzzed again. Sarah Mitchell. Did you get the video? Marcus typed back. Where did you get this? Does it matter? He thought about it. No, it doesn't. Then we have a deal. Marcus looked at the darkened screen, at his own reflection staring back at him. A man who had lost everything. A man who had been broken, rebuilt, and broken again. A man who was done being a victim. Yes, he typed. We have a deal. He pocketed his phone and walked out of Nexus Dynamics for what he knew might be the last time. Tomorrow the war would begin in earnest, and Victoria Sterling would learn that she had underestimated the wrong father. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table watching the video over and over. Victoria's cold smile, Raymond's casual cruelty, the way they discussed destroying his life like it was a minor inconvenience. Not our problem. Chen made his choice. Every time he heard those words, something inside him hardened further. At 4 a.m., his phone rang. Sarah Mitchell. "We're ready," she said. "The story airs in 72 hours, but I need you to come in today. We're doing preliminary interviews." "What about protection? You said you'd protect us." "Legal team is already on it. We're filing preemptive injunctions against Nexus Dynamics. They won't be able to touch you or Mia." "How can you be sure?" "Because the moment this story goes public, attacking you becomes suicide." Sarah's voice was firm. Victoria Sterling built her brand on being a reformer. If she retaliates against a whistleblower, she proves everything we're saying is true. Marcus looked toward Mia's bedroom door, closed, quiet. His daughter was sleeping peacefully, unaware that her father was about to ignite a war. "I'll be there at 10, Marcus said. "Don't be late." He hung up and sat in the darkness thinking about Lily. She would have known what to do. She always did. Even when the cancer was eating her alive, she had been the strong one, the steady one. "Promise me something," she had whispered near the end. Her hand was cold in his. Her eyes were fading. "Anything. Don't let them break you. Don't let them make you into something you're not." "I won't." "And Marcus," she had squeezed his hand with the last of her strength. "Protect Mia, whatever it takes. She's going to change the world someday. I can feel it." Marcus wiped his eyes. He had made that promise 3 years ago, and he had nearly broken it. He had nearly let bitterness and fear consume him. Not anymore. Today he would fight. For Lily, for Mia, for every person Victoria Sterling had destroyed. And he would win. The 60-minute studio was smaller than Marcus expected. Sarah met him in the lobby and led him through a maze of corridors to a private interview room. Cameras were already set up, lights positioned. A makeup artist waited in the corner. "Nervous?" Sarah asked. "Terrified." She smiled. "Good. That means you're taking this seriously." They spent 2 hours on preliminary questions. Background, history, the early days at Nexus Dynamics. Marcus's work on Project Phoenix, Lily's illness, his termination. Then they got to Victoria. "Tell me about her," Sarah said. "In your own words." Marcus thought for a moment. "She's the most dangerous person I've ever met. Not because she's cruel. Raymond was cruel. Victoria is something worse. She's calculated. Every word, every gesture, every emotion is designed to achieve a specific outcome." "You believed her, though, last night." "Almost." Marcus shook his head. "She's that good. She made me feel like she was the victim, like she had been manipulated by Raymond just like everyone else. But the video proves otherwise. The video proves she's a predator who learned to wear sheep's clothing." Sarah nodded slowly. "That's powerful. Can you say that on camera? I can say whatever needs to be said." "Good." Sarah stood. "We're doing the main interview tomorrow. Bring everything, files, memos, the video. We'll have legal review it all beforehand. And after it airs, then we watch the empire crumble." Marcus wished he shared her confidence. He called Mrs. Patterson on the way home. "How's Mia?" "Fine. She's doing homework. Hasn't stopped talking about some science project." Marcus smiled despite everything. "That's my girl." "Marcus, are you okay? You sound different." "I'm fine. Just tired." "You've been saying that a lot lately." "Because it's been true a lot lately." Mrs. Patterson was quiet for a moment. "That woman from your company called again. Victoria something. She left 3 messages." Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. "What did she say?" "Just that it was urgent, that you needed to call her back immediately." Mrs. Patterson hesitated. Marcus, what's going on? Should I be worried? No, everything's fine. That's what my husband used to say before his heart attack. Marcus almost laughed. I promise, Mrs. Patterson, everything's going to be fine. I'll be home in an hour. He hung up and checked his voicemail. 3 messages from Victoria, each one more urgent than the last. Marcus, call me. We need to talk. Marcus, I know you're avoiding me. Please, it's important. Marcus, I'm coming to your apartment. We need to discuss something critical. Don't do anything rash. Marcus deleted all 3. Then his phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered. Hello, Mr. Chen, a man's voice, deep, unfamiliar. My name is Thomas Wright. I'm Victoria Sterling's attorney. I'm not interested in speaking with... Before you hang up, there's something you should know. The lawyer's voice was urgent. Victoria is planning to file for emergency custody of your daughter. Marcus's world stopped. What? She has documentation suggesting you're an unfit parent, allegations of neglect, of exposing Mia to dangerous environments, of using her for personal gain. That's insane. None of that is true. I know. That's why I'm calling you. The lawyer lowered his voice. Mr. Chen, I've worked for Victoria for 3 years. I've done things I'm not proud of. But this, taking a child from her father, I can't be part of this. Marcus's hands were shaking. Why are you telling me this? Because you have 12 hours before she files the petition. 12 hours to prepare, to get your own legal representation, to protect Mia. Is this some kind of trap? If it were a trap, I wouldn't be warning you. The lawyer paused. I have a daughter too, Mr. Chen, same age as Mia, the thought of someone taking her away. His voice cracked. I couldn't live with myself if I helped Victoria do this. Marcus's mind was racing. What do I need to do? Get a lawyer. Tonight. Someone who specializes in family law. Someone who isn't afraid of Victoria Sterling. Do you know anyone? There's a woman named Patricia Gomez. She's handled cases against powerful corporations before. She doesn't intimidate easily. The lawyer recited a phone number. Tell her Thomas sent you. She'll understand. Why are you risking your career for me? Silence on the line. Because some things matter more than careers, Mr. Chen. Some things matter more than money. The line went dead. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, frozen. Victoria wasn't just trying to destroy him professionally. She was trying to take Mia, his daughter, his reason for living. The only thing he had left. A rage he didn't know he possessed erupted from somewhere deep inside him. He had spent 3 years being passive, being patient, being the bigger person. Not anymore. He dialed Patricia Gomez's number. She answered on the second ring. Gomez. My name is Marcus Chen. Thomas Wright gave me your number. Thomas. Her voice sharpened. What's going on? Victoria Sterling is trying to take my daughter. I need help. Come to my office, now. Patricia Gomez was exactly what Marcus needed. 60 years old, gray hair pulled back tight, eyes that had seen every corporate trick in the book and survived them all. She listened without interrupting as Marcus explained everything. The termination, the blacklist, the Phoenix night, the video, Victoria's manipulation, and now the custody threat. When he finished, Patricia leaned back in her chair. Victoria Sterling is making a mistake. How so? She's overreaching. Patricia smiled grimly. Custody battles require evidence, real evidence, not fabricated allegations from corporate lawyers. Any judge worth their salt will see through this. But she has resources, power, connections. So do I. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. I've been waiting for someone to take on Victoria Sterling for years. She destroyed a friend of mine, another whistleblower who tried to expose safety violations at one of her subsidiary companies. What happened? He lost everything. His job, his marriage, his savings. Patricia's voice hardened. He took his own life 2 years ago. Marcus felt sick. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready. Patricia leaned forward. We're going to destroy her, Mr. Chen. Not for revenge, for justice, for every person she's ever crushed, for your daughter, for my friend. How? First we block the custody petition. I know the judge she'll file with. He owes me a favor. And then we go on offense. Patricia's eyes gleamed. Victoria thinks she's untouchable because no one has ever fought back effectively. She's wrong. She's made enemies everywhere, people who are just waiting for someone to fire the first shot. The 60 Minutes interview. Exactly. Once that airs, the floodgates open. Every person she's ever wronged will come forward. Every secret she's ever buried will surface. Patricia smiled. She's not fighting you anymore, Mr. Chen. She's fighting an avalanche. For the first time in days, Marcus felt something like hope. What do I need to do? Go home. Hug your daughter. Get some sleep. Patricia stood and extended her hand. Tomorrow we go to war. Marcus shook her hand. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when Mia is safe and Victoria Sterling is in handcuffs. Marcus made it home just before Mia's bedtime. She was sitting on the couch, her tablet on her lap, working on something with intense concentration. Dad. She jumped up and ran to him. Where were you? I was getting worried. Just some meetings, sweetheart. He hugged her tight. What are you working on? A new program. It predicts weather patterns using data from 3 different sources and combines them for better accuracy. She beamed. I'm going to enter it in the science fair. Marcus's heart swelled with pride. That's amazing genius. Do you think I can win? I think you can do anything you set your mind to. Mia smiled, that brilliant, innocent smile that reminded him so much of Lily. Dad, can you help me with the user interface? I want it to look professional. Absolutely, but tomorrow, okay? It's getting late. Promise. Promise. He tucked her into bed and seemed beside her until she fell asleep. Then he walked to his own room, closed the door, and finally allowed himself to feel the weight of everything that was happening. Victoria Sterling was coming for his daughter. The most powerful woman in Chicago, the CEO of a billion-dollar company, a predator who had destroyed countless lives without a moment's hesitation. And he was just Marcus Chen, former engineer. Former janitor, single father with nothing but determination and a handful of allies. But he had something Victoria didn't. He had the truth, and tomorrow the world would hear it. The call came at midnight. Marcus was half asleep when his phone buzzed. He grabbed it, expecting Sarah or Patricia. It was Victoria. He almost didn't answer, but something made him swipe accept. Marcus. Her voice was different, strained, almost desperate. We need to talk. I'm done talking. Please, just listen. Victoria took a shaky breath. I know about the custody petition. I know you've hired Patricia Gomez. I know about the 60 Minutes interview. Then you know there's nothing left to discuss. There's everything left to discuss. Victoria's voice cracked. I made a mistake, Marcus. The custody filing was... It was a reaction. I was scared. I wasn't thinking. You tried to take my daughter. I was trying to protect myself. I know how that sounds, but it sounds like you're a monster. Silence on the line. When Victoria spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. I'm not a monster. I'm a woman who built her entire identity around a company that's falling apart. I'm a woman who inherited an empire she never wanted and spent 5 years trying to keep it from collapsing. That doesn't excuse what you did. No, it doesn't. Victoria paused. But maybe it explains why I'm calling, why I'm begging you to give me one more chance. A chance to do what? To make this right, to stop the custody filing, to step down publicly, to let you and Mia have the life you deserve. Marcus sat up in bed. You'd resign? If that's what it takes. Why? Why would you give up everything? Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Because I watched the video today. The one from 3 years ago. The one where I told Raymond to destroy you. And I didn't recognize myself. I didn't recognize the person sitting behind that desk. The coldness, the cruelty. Victoria's voice broke. I've spent so long building this empire that I forgot why I was building it in the first place. Why were you building it? For my father. He dreamed of a company that would change the world, a company that would lift people up, not crush them down. She laughed bitterly. Somewhere along the way, I became everything he hated. Marcus didn't know what to say. He wanted to believe her. Part of him desperately wanted to believe that people could change, that even the darkest souls could find redemption. But he had believed her before, and she had betrayed him. I don't trust you, he said finally. I know. I don't believe this isn't another manipulation. I know that too. So why are you calling? Victoria took a deep breath. Because tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm holding a press conference. I'm announcing my resignation as CEO of Nexus Dynamics. I'm confessing to everything, the cover-ups, the terminations, the blacklist, all of it. Marcus's heart stopped. You're serious? I'm terrified, but yes, I'm serious. Why tell me first? Because you deserve to know. Because I owed you that much. Victoria paused. And because I wanted to ask your forgiveness, not that I expect it, not that I deserve it, but I needed to ask. Marcus was silent. 3 years of pain, 3 years of humiliation, 3 years of watching his daughter grow up in poverty while the woman responsible lived in luxury. And now she was asking for forgiveness. I don't forgive you, Marcus said quietly. I understand. But I hope you're telling the truth. I hope you do the right thing tomorrow. I will. Then I'll be watching. He hung up and sat in the darkness, his mind spinning. Either Victoria Sterling had just shown him her soul or she had delivered the most convincing performance of her life. Either way, tomorrow would reveal the truth. Morning came faster than expected. Marcus woke to Mia jumping on his bed. Dad, wake up. There's something on TV. He stumbled to the living room, still half asleep. On the screen was Victoria Sterling standing at a podium in front of Nexus Dynamics headquarters. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The Chiron at the bottom read, Breaking Nexus CEO to make major announcement. 5 years ago, I inherited this company from my father, Victoria began. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. I promised myself I would make him proud. I promised myself I would build something worth leaving behind. She paused. The crowd went silent. I failed, murmurs rippled through the reporters. Over the past 5 years, I have made decisions that prioritized profit over people. I have silenced employees who spoke truth to power. I have destroyed careers and families in the name of corporate survival. She looked directly into the camera. One of those people was Marcus Chen, a brilliant engineer who designed the very system that saved Project Phoenix last week. I fired him. I blacklisted him. I made sure he couldn't find work anywhere in this industry. Marcus stared at the screen, his heart pounding. His daughter Mia is 9 years old. She fixed a bug that our entire engineering team couldn't solve. And instead of celebrating her brilliance, I tried to use her as leverage against her father. Gasps from the crowd. That ends today. Victoria's voice broke. Effective immediately, I am resigning as CEO of Nexus Dynamics. I am transferring full authority to the board of directors with the recommendation that Marcus Chen be offered the position of Chief Technology Officer. Marcus couldn't breathe. Additionally, I am establishing a $50 million trust fund for employees and families who were harmed by my decisions. Every person I wronged will be contacted. Every wrong will be acknowledged. She paused, tears streaming down her face. My father built this company to change the world for the better. I nearly destroyed it trying to save it. That stops now. She stepped back from the podium. The room erupted. Mia looked up at Marcus, confusion in her eyes. Dad, is that the pretty lady from your company? Marcus couldn't answer. He just stared at the screen, watching Victoria Sterling walk away from everything she had built. She had told the truth. For the first time in 5 years, Victoria Sterling had told the truth. And Marcus didn't know how to feel about it. His phone rang. Sarah Mitchell. Did you see that? I'm watching it now. This changes everything. The story we were building, it's not needed anymore. What do you mean? Victoria just confessed to everything publicly on live television. Sarah sounded stunned. In 30 years of journalism, I've never seen anything like it. So the interview, we can still air it if you want, but honestly, her confession is more powerful than anything we could produce. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Kill the interview. Are you sure? She did the right thing. That has to count for something. Sarah was silent for a long moment. You're a better person than I am, Marcus Chen. I'm not. I'm just a father who wants this to be over. He hung up and looked at Mia. She was still watching the TV, her brow furrowed in concentration. Dad, is she going away now? Yes, sweetheart, she is. Is that good or bad? Marcus thought about it. I don't know yet, but I think maybe it's the beginning of something good. Mia nodded seriously. I hope so, because I don't like seeing you sad, Dad. Marcus pulled her into a hug. I'm not sad anymore, genius, not anymore. 2 hours later, Marcus's phone rang. Victoria Sterling. He answered. I saw the press conference. I told you I would do it. You did. Silence on the line. Marcus, I meant what I said about the CTO position. The board is waiting for your answer. I don't want it. What? I don't want to be CTO of Nexus Dynamics, not after everything that's happened. Victoria was quiet for a moment. What do you want? Marcus looked at Mia, who was back to working on her weather program. I want to build something new, something that helps kids like Mia, kids with brilliant minds and no resources. A foundation, a school, a real school, where genius doesn't have to wear a suit and brilliance doesn't need permission. Victoria laughed softly. That's exactly what my father would have wanted. Then help me build it. Not as the CEO, not as some kind of penance, as a partner. More silence. You would work with me after everything. I don't forgive you, Victoria. I'm not sure I ever will, but I believe people can change. I believe redemption is possible. Marcus paused, and I believe my daughter's future matters more than my pain. Victoria's voice was thick with emotion. You're a good man, Marcus Chen. I'm a father. That's all I've ever wanted to be. Then let's build something worth passing down, together. Marcus looked out the window at the city beyond. 3 years ago, he had lost everything. Today, he was standing on the edge of something new. Together, he agreed. And for the first time in 3 years, the word felt like hope. Mia looked up from her tablet. Dad, who was that? Someone who's going to help us build something amazing. What kind of something? Marcus smiled. A school for kids like you, kids who see problems and know how to fix them. Mia's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Can I help design it? I wouldn't have it any other way, genius. Mia jumped up and hugged him. This is going to be the best school ever, Dad. I promise. Marcus held her tight. He believed her. 6 months changed everything. Marcus stood in the elevator, his heart pounding against his ribs. The doors opened to the 12th floor of what used to be an abandoned warehouse on Chicago's South Side. Now it was something else entirely. The Phoenix Academy, named not for the project that had started everything, but for what it represented. Rising from ashes, second chances, the belief that brilliance could come from anywhere. Dad. Mia came running down the hallway, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. They're here. The first class is here. Marcus knelt down and caught her in his arms. How many bows? 47 kids from all over the city. Her eyes were shining. And guess what? 3 of them already know how to code. That's amazing genius. I know I'm going to teach them the loop thing, the one I used to fix Phoenix. She pulled back and looked at him seriously. Is that okay? Can I teach them? Marcus's throat tightened. You can teach them anything you want. Mia beamed and ran back toward the main hall. Marcus watched her go, his heart full of something he hadn't felt in years. Pride. Pure, overwhelming pride. Victoria appeared at his side. She looked different now. The sharp suits were gone, replaced by simple blouses and practical shoes. The cold mask had cracked, revealing something softer underneath. 47 students, she said quietly. When we started, I hoped for 20. People believe in this. People believe in you. Victoria turned to face him. I just wrote checks. You built something real. We built it together. Victoria shook her head. No, I funded it. You created it. There's a difference. Marcus didn't argue. He had learned that Victoria's guilt was her own burden to carry. Nothing he said would ease it. The board called this morning, Victoria continued. They want to expand, open a second campus in Detroit. Already. The waiting list has over 300 names. Victoria smiled slightly. Turns out there are a lot of brilliant kids out there who just need a chance. Marcus thought about his own journey. The years of struggle, the humiliation, the despair, and now this. Tell them yes, he said. Are you sure it's a lot of responsibility? I'm sure. Marcus looked toward the main hall where he could hear children's voices echoing. Mia was right. We're going to help a lot of kids. Might as well start now. The opening ceremony was simple. No fancy speeches, no corporate sponsors, no media circus. Just 47 children sitting in a circle, their faces bright with curiosity and hope. Marcus stood before them, his voice steady. Welcome to Phoenix Academy. Most of you have never been inside a building like this. Most of you have never had anyone tell you that your ideas matter. He paused, looking at each face. That changes today. Small boy in the front row raised his hand. Are you the janitor guy, the one from TV? Laughter rippled through the group. Marcus smiled. I was a janitor for 2 years. I mopped floors and cleaned bathrooms in a building where I used to be an engineer. Why? The boy asked. Because sometimes life knocks you down. Sometimes people with power decide you don't matter. Marcus knelt so he was at eye level with the children. But here's what I learned. It doesn't matter how far you fall. What matters is whether you get back up. He pointed to Mia, who was sitting among the students. My daughter was 9 years old when she solved a problem that stumped an entire team of engineers. She didn't have a degree, she didn't have fancy equipment, she just had curiosity and determination. Mia blushed and looked at her shoes. Every single one of you has that same potential. Every single one of you has ideas that could change the world. Marcus stood. This school exists to help you find those ideas, to nurture them, to turn them into reality. A girl in the back raised her hand. What if we fail? Then you learn from it and try again. Marcus smiled. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the path to it. The children nodded, their eyes wide with possibility. Now, Marcus said, clapping his hands together. Who wants to learn how to code? Every hand shot up. The first month was chaos. 47 children with 47 different learning styles. Some picked up coding instantly. Others struggled with basic concepts. Some were disciplined and focused. Others couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. Marcus loved every second of it. He worked 18-hour days developing curriculum, mentoring students, troubleshooting technical problems. Victoria handled the business side, fundraising, partnerships, legal issues. They made an unlikely team, but somehow it worked. One evening after the students had gone home, Marcus found Victoria sitting alone in the empty classroom. "Long day?" he asked. "Long 6 months." She looked up at him. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if Mia hadn't wandered into that war room?" Marcus sat down across from her. "Every day. I'd still be CEO. Raymond would still be CTO. You'd still be mopping floors. Probably. And none of this would exist." Victoria gestured at the classroom around them. 47 kids who now have a future they never imagined. Life is strange that way. Victoria was quiet for a moment. "I testified against Raymond yesterday. At his sentencing hearing." Marcus hadn't known. "How did it go?" 12 years, federal prison." Victoria's voice was flat. "He cried when they read the verdict, begged for mercy." "Did you feel anything?" "I felt sick." Victoria met his eyes. "Not because of him, because I realized how close I came to being him. How easily I could have ended up in that courtroom instead." Marcus didn't respond. There was nothing to say. "I keep waiting for you to hate me," Victoria continued. "To throw everything I did back in my face, to remind me that I don't deserve to be here. Would that help? No. Then why would I do it?" Victoria laughed bitterly. "Because it's what I would have done. What I did do for years. To everyone who threatened me." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "I spent 3 years hating you. Hating Raymond. Hating everyone who had any part in destroying my life. And now I'm too busy to hate." He smiled slightly. "Turns out building something is a lot more satisfying than tearing something down." Victoria nodded slowly. "I'm starting to understand that." 3 months later, Mia turned 10. Marcus threw her a party at the academy. All 47 students came. They ate pizza and played coding games and watched Mia demonstrate her newest project, an AI that could recognize emotional states based on facial expressions. "It's for kids who have trouble communicating," Mia explained to the crowd. "Like kids with autism, the AI can help their parents and teachers understand what they're feeling." The students applauded. The teachers wiped their eyes. Even Victoria, standing in the back of the room, seemed moved. After the party, Marcus found Mia sitting alone on the rooftop, looking out at the city lights. "Hey, genius, what are you doing up here?" Mia shrugged. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About Mom." Marcus's heart clenched. He sat down beside her. "She would have loved today," he said softly. "I know, that's what makes it sad." Mia looked up at him. "I'm starting to forget her face, Dad. I have to look at pictures now to remember what she looked like." Marcus pulled her close. "That's normal, sweetheart. It doesn't mean you love her any less." "But what if I forget everything? What if one day I can't remember her voice or her laugh or the way she used to sing me to sleep?" "You won't." "How do you know?" Marcus thought about it, about all the ways Lily lived on, in Mia's smile, in her determination, in her kindness. "Because she's part of you," he said finally. "The way you think, the way you care about people, the way you never give up, that's all her. You don't need to remember her face to carry her with you." Mia was quiet for a long moment. "Dad, yeah, I'm glad we didn't give up. After everything that happened. Me too, genius. And I'm glad Victoria changed, even if she did bad things before." Marcus looked at his daughter. You believe she's changed. I believe people can always change. Mom taught me that. Marcus kissed the top of her head. Your mother was the wisest person I ever knew. I know, Mia smiled. That's why I'm so smart. Marcus laughed out loud. Modest too. I learned from the best. The call came 6 months after that. Marcus was in his office reviewing applications for the Detroit campus when his phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Marcus Chen. A woman's voice, official sounding. This is Director Catherine Wells from the National Science Foundation. Marcus sat up straighter. Yes, I'm calling about your daughter Mia. We've been following her work with great interest. Her work, the emotional recognition AI, it's been featured in several academic journals. Some of our top researchers are calling it groundbreaking. Marcus's heart swelled with pride. She's very talented. That's an understatement. The director paused. Mr. Chen, we'd like to offer Mia a full scholarship to the NSF Young Innovators program. It's a summer intensive for exceptionally gifted students. This year it's being held at MIT. Marcus couldn't breathe. MIT. She would be the youngest student ever accepted. By 5 years. I don't know what to say. Say yes. The director's voice warmed. Mr. Chen, your daughter has the potential to change the world. We want to help her do it. Marcus thought about everything they had been through. The poverty, the humiliation, the nights when he wondered if he was failing her. And now this. Can I discuss it with her first? Of course, take all the time you need. Marcus hung up and sat in silence. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from joy. Mia took exactly 3 seconds to decide. Yes! She jumped up and down, her face radiant. Dad, this is MIT Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I know what MIT stands for, genius. This is the best day of my life. She threw her arms around him. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for everything. I didn't do anything. This is all you. No. Mia pulled back and looked at him with eyes far too wise for her age. This is us. Everything we've been through. Every night you sat with me at that old kitchen table teaching me to code. Every time you told me I could do anything. Marcus's vision blurred. Mia, you gave me this, Dad, all of it. Don't ever forget that. He couldn't speak. He just held her and let the tears come. Victoria found them like that 10 minutes later. I just heard the news. Her voice was thick with emotion. MIT, that's incredible. Mia grinned. I'm going to meet real scientists. You are a real scientist. Victoria knelt down to her level. Mia, I want you to know something. What you've accomplished, it's extraordinary. Not just the AI, not just the scholarship, everything. Thanks, Victoria. And I want you to know that whatever you need, whatever resources, whatever support Phoenix Academy will provide it, for as long as you need. Mia looked at her father, then back at Victoria. Can I ask you something? Anything? Why did you change the real reason? Not the stuff you say in interviews. Victoria was silent for a long moment. Because of you. Me. The night you fixed Project Phoenix, you weren't trying to impress anyone. You weren't trying to prove anything. You just saw a problem and fixed it. Victoria's voice cracked. I realized I had spent my entire career trying to impress people, trying to prove I was worthy of my father's legacy. And in doing so, I became everything he would have despised. Mia nodded seriously. My mom used to say that the best people don't try to be good, they just are. Victoria wiped her eyes. Your mother sounds like she was very wise. She was, Mia smiled, but she also said everyone can learn to be better, even the people who mess up really badly. Do you believe that? I believe you're trying. That's what matters. Victoria looked at Marcus. You've raised an extraordinary daughter. She raised herself mostly, I just tried to keep up. Mia laughed. That's not true, and you know it. The National Science Foundation ceremony was held in Washington, D.C. Marcus sat in the front row of the auditorium, Victoria beside him, watching as Mia walked across the stage to accept her scholarship certificate. She looked so small up there, so young. But when she stepped to the microphone, her voice filled the room with quiet confidence. When I was 9 years old, I fixed a bug in a $200 million computer system. A lot of people thought that was the most important thing I ever did. She paused, looking out at the audience. They were wrong. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The most important thing I ever did was watch my father get up every morning and go to work, even when the work was mopping floors and cleaning toilets. Even when the world told him he was nothing. Even when he had every reason to give up. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. My father taught me that brilliance isn't about degrees or titles or fancy offices. It's about showing up. It's about doing the right thing when no one is watching. It's about believing in yourself when everyone else has stopped believing. Mia looked directly at Marcus. Dad, you always called me genius, but you're the real genius. You taught me that failure isn't the end of the story, it's just the beginning of a better one. The audience rose to their feet. Applause thundered through the auditorium. Marcus couldn't see through his tears. He couldn't breathe. He could barely stand, but he managed to mouth 2 words to his daughter. Love you, Mia smiled. Love you too, Dad. 1 year later, Marcus stood on the stage of the Detroit campus opening ceremony. 1,500 students now, across 2 cities, with 3 more campuses planned. Victoria sat in the front row next to Patricia Gomez, next to Dr. Williams, next to dozens of other people who had once been broken by the system and were now helping to rebuild it. And beside Marcus stood Mia, 11 years old now, taller, more confident, still wearing her worn sneakers and her mother's smile. 5 years ago, Marcus began, I was a janitor. I mopped floors in a building where I used to be an engineer. I was invisible, forgotten, worthless. He paused. At least that's what I believed. That's what the world told me. That's what I told myself. He looked at Mia. But my daughter never believed it. She looked at me and saw a father worth learning from. She looked at a broken system and saw a problem worth solving. She looked at the world and saw possibility where everyone else saw obstacles. His voice strengthened. Phoenix Academy exists because of her. Because she reminded me that brilliance doesn't need permission, that genius doesn't need a title, that the only thing standing between us and our dreams is the willingness to try. He turned to the audience. Every child in this room has that same spark. Every child in this room has the potential to change the world. Our job isn't to create that potential, it's already there. Our job is to nurture it, to protect it, to give it room to grow. He gestured to the building around them. This academy isn't named Phoenix because of a corporate project. It's named Phoenix because that's what we do here. We rise from ashes. We turn defeat into victory. We prove that no matter how far you fall, you can always get back up. The applause started slowly, then built into a roar. Marcus stepped back from the microphone. Mia took his hand. You did it, Dad. We did it, genius. Same thing. Marcus laughed. Not even close. After the ceremony, they walked through the campus together. Students ran past them laughing, coding, dreaming. Teachers guided lessons in classrooms filled with equipment that Marcus had once only dreamed of affording. Victoria fell into step beside them. The board approved the expansion, she said. 5 more cities by next year. Los Angeles, Atlanta, Houston, Seattle, and Boston. Marcus shook his head in disbelief. That's almost 10,000 students. 12,000, actually. The waiting lists keep growing. How are we going to fund all of this? Victoria smiled. I sold my shares in Nexus Dynamics. All of them. Marcus stopped walking. You did what? $230 million. I'm putting every cent into Phoenix Academy. Victoria's eyes were bright. Turns out money is a lot more satisfying when you're using it to build something instead of destroy something. Marcus didn't know what to say. Don't thank me, Victoria said quickly. I'm just trying to balance the scales, and honestly, she looked around at the campus, at the children, at everything they had built. I've never been happier in my life. Mia tugged on her father's sleeve. Dad, can I show Victoria my new project? What project? It's a secret. Mia grinned. But I think she'll like it. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Lead the way. They followed Mia to a small lab in the back of the building. Inside was a single computer, a whiteboard covered in equations, and a small robot sitting on the desk. What is this? Victoria asked. Mia pressed a button on the robot. It whirred to life, its camera eyes focusing on Victoria's face. Hello, Victoria, the robot said in a surprisingly natural voice. My analysis indicates you are feeling curious and slightly nervous. Would you like to talk about it? Victoria's jaw dropped. It can read emotions, assume better than that. Mia beamed. It can respond to them. I designed it for kids who have trouble connecting with people. The robot learns their patterns and helps them practice social interactions. Mia, this is... Victoria trailed off, speechless. Groundbreaking, Marcus offered. Revolutionary, Victoria whispered. Do you have any idea what this could mean for autism research, for child development, for education? Mia shrugged. I just wanted to help kids who feel lonely like I did sometimes after Mom died. Victoria knelt down and looked Mia in the eyes. You're going to change the world, Mia Chen. Not someday, not eventually. You're changing it right now. Mia smiled. That's what Dad always says. Your dad is a smart man. I know. Mia glanced at Marcus. But don't tell him. His head is big enough already. Marcus laughed out loud. Thanks for the humility check, genius. Anytime, Dad. That night, Marcus tucked Mia into bed for the last time in their small apartment. Tomorrow they would move into a real house, a house with a backyard and a garage and a room where Mia could build all the robots she wanted. Dad. Mia's voice was sleepy. Yeah, sweetheart. Do you think Mom can see us like from wherever she is? Marcus thought about it, about Lily's smile, her laugh, her unwavering belief that good things would come if they just held on. I think she can. Do you think she's proud? I think she's the proudest mother in the universe. Mia smiled and closed her eyes. Good, because I want her to know we made it. We made it, Marcus agreed. Promise me something, Dad. Anything. Promise me we'll never stop helping people, no matter how big Phoenix Academy gets, no matter how successful we become. Marcus leaned down and kissed her forehead. I promise, genius. Always and forever. Good, Mia yawned, because the world needs people like us. People like us. People who see problems and fix them. People who don't give up. Marcus smiled. You're right. The world needs a lot more people like us. Mia was already asleep. Marcus watched her for a long moment, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude and hope. 3 years ago, he had been a broken man mopping floors in a building that had thrown him away. Today, he was a father, a builder, a dreamer, and tomorrow he would keep rising, because that's what phoenixes do. They rise. Again and again and again, no matter how many times the world tries to burn them down. Marcus walked to the window and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, 1,000 children were sleeping, 1,000 dreamers who didn't know yet what they could become. But they would learn, because Marcus Chen would teach them, because Mia Chen would inspire them, because Phoenix Academy would lift them up, and because brilliance, true brilliance, needs no permission. It just needs a chance. Marcus smiled. Tomorrow would be a new beginning, and he was ready. Genius doesn't knock. It simply walks in, solves the problem, and changes the world forever. The end.